Hey friends, Andy here from Raphah, and this is the fourth video in the series where I'm showing you how I put an ambient track together. And so we've already laid down a pad, some chords. In the last session we did some strings and bass. This time I'm going to put some guitar onto the track. Probably some guitar swells to emphasize the chords and add a bit of depth, but also a pad or maybe two to start filling it out a little bit more and adding in a bit more texture. Let's just go to Logic and listen to what we did last time. I'll skip the initial few bars of pad and we'll jump straight into where the chords start. Bass and the strings coming in. And then we move to the mid section here. Okay, and then the first section repeats through a couple of times with a slight variation on those chords. So we've got a guitar track set up. Let's move over to the pedals, and I'll take the microphone with me so you can hear what I'm doing. Okay, so we've got quite a few pedals here. I'm not going to be using them all by any means, but that's the clean sound we currently have. I want to use, I've got a hologram chroma console over here, and I'm just going to be using that to add in a bit of reverse effect and a bit of tremolo. And then over here, just making sure you can see what I'm doing. So you can't see exactly what this is from a top-down view, but I've got a signal blender. So I've got two tracks of pedals here. On track A, I've got a couple of Chase Bliss pedals, the Mood we're definitely going to be using, and then a Strymon Volant, so tape echo. On track B, I've got the hologram microcosm, Strymon Timeline, and Strymon Big Sky, so we've got a delay and a reverb. The beauty of having the signal blender is that I can run both of those in parallel and I can blend them in, which creates some really nice effects. So we've got the bit of movement going on with the chroma console. I want to have a bit of delay from the Strymon Volant, and then I'm going to use the microcosm just to have a bit of high-end sparkle with one of the Mosaic presets they've got, and then we can play around with that. And then further along here, got a few more effects. All I'm going to be using on this side for now is the Strymon Cloudburst reverb. So in terms of guitar swells, It's quite nice. I wonder if it needs a bit of grit. I'm just going to put on the... So I've put an overdrive at the beginning of that chain just to give it a bit of bite and a bit of distortion. And you can't see, but I'm doing the swells with the volume pedal on my right foot. Well, that's quite nice. So if I turn up the B channel, you can hear the hologram in the background with that high. I'm just going to add a bit of reverb onto that with the big sky. It's quite nice. That high, swirly hologram sound comes in after the chord's played, which I think sounds quite nice. Let's see how that sounds in context. I think there's a bit too much of that hologram in the background, so I'm just going to turn that down. Yeah, I think that sounds quite nice. Let's get that recorded in. Back to the first section, instead of the A minor, I'm going to play the C. let's go back to Logic and play that back and see how that sounds. It's pretty good. Adds a nice ethereal, spacey feel to it. Which is what I want, because we've kind of got the foundations. I just want to fill that out with some extra atmosphere and soundscape. Some nice movement there, some nice modulation as well. You'll notice I'm not playing the chords together, I'm putting them on a slight delay, so probably a beat, there's no click, but it's probably about a beat delay before I come in with a guitar swell. Some nice wobble there. Good, yeah, I like that. And then it pretty much finishes off in a similar fashion. Great, it's working out rather well. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this track. So let's call that guitar Swells. And this we're going to have guitar pad, oh, pad. Fat fingers on the keyboard, right. And then we'll go back to the pedal board and the guitar. Okay, so we're back at the pedal board, and I'm going to use one of my favourite pedals on this board, which is the Chase Bliss Mood, because you can create some amazing sounds with it and some really cool sounding pads. So this is often my go-to when I want to create a guitar pad. It acts as kind of a micro looper. So on one side of the pedal, it will capture something you've just played, it will loop it round, and then using the controls you've got on the pedal, you can manipulate that to do all sorts of weird and wonderful and tasty things. So we're in the key of C for this track, so I'm just going to lay down something in C to start with, and then we can go from there. So that's picked up a chunk of what I've just played. And you can change the pitch by altering the clock here. I'll put this guitar down for now because I don't actually need it. We've got the Strymon Volant delay further down the chain, and I'm going to put the cloudburst on for that extra reverb. So what's wonderful about this clock feature is that you can turn it right the way down and it will give you this low rumbling sort of pad sound, which is quite nice if you want that lower end texture, or you can spin it all the way around and give you something high and sparkly. And various other parameters you can play with. I think what I want is something fairly high in the mix, so we'll do that. So what I'm going to do, using the signal blender, is just fade that in, and then once we're up and running, I'll start playing around to add some movement to that pad. And then just fade that out nice and gently. Good, and I can tidy that up later on. Let's turn that all off. It often is that simple to create a really great sounding pad using the guitar and that mood pedal to capture that micro loop and then use that by adjusting some of the parameters. So as it's recording through, I'm listening out to what the track's doing and I'm adjusting the volume, the dynamics, the modulation and some of the other parameters so that it sits just nicely and complements what I've already recorded. What I'll do probably off camera is do a similar thing again a couple of times and create some different pads with some different textures and then just fit those in accordingly for the track, just to round it out as we come to the stage where it's starting to sound a bit more finished. And then in the next session what I'll do is look to add in some more texture, some more character, probably using some Foley or some sound recordings or some white noise, just to lift it and give it a bit more depth and more of a soundscape. So that will be the aim for next time. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please do leave them below. There's also lots of links in the description as to how you can join in with what I'm doing, the community that I'm trying to build around this musical journey. So please do check those out as well. But otherwise, until next time, take care of yourselves.